Christmas morning, Dad bought my brother a $55,000 sports car. I got a napkin that read Unchosen one. When I cut off my $4,000 monthly support, panic hit fast. Imagine pouring your heart, your money, your life into your family, only to be tossed a crumpled napkin for Christmas, while your brother gets a brand new, luxury sports car. That's exactly what happened to me. And the gut-wrenching betrayal? It was just the beginning of a fight I never thought I'd have to win. I remember it like yesterday. My brother, Kyle, practically drooling, sprinted outside in his slippers. "Check it out," he yelled, his eyes glued to the shiny red Mustang in our driveway. "No way, Dad. Are you serious?" My father just stood there, grinning like Santa on steroids, and tossed Kyle the keys. "Only the best for my boy," he declared. "You earned it." I stood in the hallway, coffee in hand, still half asleep, utterly invisible. Dad didn't even glance my way. Kyle was jumping around like a hyperactive kid. "Dude, this is like 55 grand, he shrieked. 56, actually, Dad corrected, but who's counting? Then, as an afterthought, he turned to me. "Oh, right, almost forgot. Here's yours." He handed me a crumpled napkin. In black Sharpie, it read, "The Unchosen One." I blinked. "What is this?" Kyle burst out laughing, almost dropping his new key fob. "Dude, that's brutal." "Dad, really?" My father just shrugged. He refused to co-sign the loan. Actions have consequences. I just stared at them. The air in that house felt colder than the snow falling outside. "You're punishing me," I said, my voice dangerously calm, "for not risking my credit on your bad decisions." Kyle stepped closer, a venomous smirk spreading across his face. "So, how does it feel to be not the favorite, huh?" I looked from the grinning figure with his new car to my father, who always made me feel like the runner-up. And then I said it, so quietly, so clearly, it felt like a whisper of thunder. "Let's see how you manage without my $4,000 monthly support." The smirk on Kyle's face vanished instantly. I should have seen it coming a mile away. For the past 4 years, I'd been the invisible backbone of this family. Every single month, like clockwork, I sent my dad $4,000. It was always for something: the mortgage, medical bills, utilities. But the unspoken truth was heavy: asterisk, you're the responsible one. You owe us, asterisk. It started when my mom died. I was 26, single, already pulling in 6 figures working remotely for a cybersecurity firm. My brother, Kyle, was 19, flunking out of his second college. And my dad? He just lost half his pension in some harebrained investment scheme he wouldn't shut up about. Naturally, I became the family ATM. "You're lucky to be in tech," my dad would always say. Not everyone has that luxury. Luxury? I'd worked 70-hour weeks for 3 straight years to get there. At first, it was $800. Then it was $1,500. When Kyle moved back in after crashing his first Audi, it jumped to $4,000. "Just until we get back on our feet," Dad promised. They never did get back on their feet. Why would they? Kyle didn't even pretend to try. He'd sleep until noon, then spend hours in the garage with his YouTube channel, unboxing luxury watches he never paid for, flexing with fake sponsorships. "It's all marketing," he'd say. "It's not about being rich, it's about looking rich." That Christmas morning, with the napkin and the Mustang, it just confirmed what I'd known deep down for years. They never respected me. They just used me. A few weeks before, when I refused to co-sign a $70,000 loan for Kyle's business expansion, my dad called me ungrateful. He said I was jealous of Kyle's entrepreneurial drive. I laughed in his face. "I've been your safety net for 4 years. I shot back. "You don't get to throw shade just because I said no once." He hung up on me. So yeah, I skipped the cosign, paid my own bills, saved like an actual adult, and for Christmas, I got a napkin with Unchosen One written in Sharpie, like I was some failed Harry Potter side character. The car wasn't even the worst part. It was the way they laughed. Like it was a hilarious joke. Like I didn't matter at all. So I pulled the plug. No more $4,000. No more paying off Kyle's parking tickets, his credit cards, his streaming software upgrades. No more covering my dad's missed payments and overdraft fees. And I didn't say it like a threat. I just said it calmly, clearly, with a small nod. Let's see how you manage without me. At first, there was just an awkward silence. Kyle looked confused, like I was bluffing. My dad tried to laugh it off. You're just upset, son. I wasn't upset. I was done. The next 3 days were strangely quiet. I went back to my place, kept working, went to the gym, lived my life. I ignored the first few calls, let the voicemails pile up. But by the third day, the desperation started to creep in. First, it was Kyle. Bro, can we talk? That whole napkin thing, it was just a joke, man. Then my dad. I didn't mean to offend you, but you know, we're in a tight spot. By evening, I had 53 missed calls, 11 voice notes, each one more frantic than the last. One was from Kyle's girlfriend, sounding terrified. They're freaking out. Your dad's threatening to sell the house. Kyle's credit cards are maxed out, he thought you were still covering the insurance. Turns out, I was. And then came the knock. Midnight. My heart hammered against my ribs. I peered through the peephole. It was them. Kyle, hoodie up, looking utterly miserable. My dad, red-eyed, like he'd been crying or drinking. Probably both. I didn't open the door. I just stood there, staring. Because this wasn't about money anymore. This was years of being used. Manipulated. Dismissed. They stood there in silence. I heard my dad mumble something, then he said it louder, his voice cracking, "We need your help." I didn't say anything because this time, they weren't getting what they wanted. But before I tell you what happened next, and how that knock changed everything, let me take you back to how this mess really started. Back when I first became their personal safety net. Back when I thought helping equaled loyalty. It started with Kyle's first serious driving mistake. I was 23, he was 20. My dad didn't have the money for a lawyer, and Kyle didn't have the brains not to drive drunk. So I stepped in. Paid the fines, got him legal counsel, even bought him an Uber gift card just in case. Dad called me a hero. Kyle just said, "Thanks, bro," and posted a picture of his court outfit with the caption, "Cleaning up nice." The next time, it was rent. Kyle got kicked out of his apartment for throwing a party that basically destroyed the place. He just needs a restart, my dad told me, he's got so much potential. I wired them $3,000. Then $5,000. Then $8,000 when the car lease defaulted. But nothing changed. The more I gave, the less they respected me. Kyle never worked more than part-time. My dad kept refinancing the house until it barely had any equity left. They took vacations I never went on. Ate at restaurants I couldn't justify. Upgraded phones, bought gaming chairs, paid for Spotify Premium, all while I quietly cut corners, working 2 jobs, cybersecurity by day, freelance coding by night, just to maintain a buffer in case they needed help. No one ever asked if I was okay. They just kept asking for more. And I kept giving it. Until now. Until Christmas morning. Until the napkin. I only opened the door when I heard my father say it again, softer this time. "Son, please." He never said that. Ever. They both stood there, my dad in an old, sagging jacket, Kyle with his hood up, looking like someone had deflated his confidence. I stepped aside. They walked in. My father spoke first. His voice was a ragged whisper. "We've lost everything. The car was repossessed this morning. I'm $19,000 in credit card debt." He looked at Kyle, who wouldn't meet my eyes. "He can't afford rent." So, I asked, my voice flat, almost unfamiliar to myself, "What are you asking me?" "We're asking you to come back," Dad pleaded. "Help us just for a few months. We realize we crossed a line. That napkin thing, It was a joke. A stupid one. I turned to Kyle. You laughed. Kyle nodded slowly. It seemed funny at the time. I didn't think you'd actually cut us off. That was the truth. They never thought I would stop. They thought I was too responsible, too guilt-ridden, too loyal. Do you know how much money I've sent you over the years? I asked, pulling out my laptop. I'd added it up. $186,000 in 5 years. Not including gifts, credit card bailouts, insurance premiums. Silence. All I ever got in return, I continued, was disrespect and pressure. Kyle got a sports car. I got a napkin. Dad jumped in defensively. That's not fair. I've always looked out for you. After your mom, I countered, you looked out for yourself. And for Kyle. After Mom died, I became your safety net. And I stayed quiet. But not anymore. I turned directly to my brother. You've disrespected me for years. Laughed at me, lived off my money, treated me like I was beneath you. Now it's your turn to figure it out. My dad switched tactics. Manipulation mode. We won't survive without you. We'll lose the house. You had 4 years and 6 refinancing deals to fix things, I said, my voice unwavering. You chose laziness. Now you deal with it. That's when it came. The part one expected. Anger. You're really going to let your own father end up on the street? He barked. You think you're better than us now? I stood perfectly still. I didn't flinch. That enraged him even more. I made you who you are, he shouted. You owe us everything. I laughed. It wasn't amused. It was dry. Tired. I made myself. You made a mess and dumped it on me. Kyle, who'd been quiet, finally muttered, I'll get a job, maybe. If you just help one more time. You had chances, I said, listing them off. When I paid for your business course. And the second one. And the third. And the $3,200 streaming setup and the studio you abandoned in a month. Still silence. I helped you because I thought that's what family does. But now I know. I was just convenient. My dad tried again, his voice cracking now. But we're your family. We made mistakes, sure, but we're blood. I reached for a folder from my shelf. I've redirected that $4,000 a month into an investment account for me. And for the first time in years, I feel in control. Kyle exhaled. So that's it? You're just leaving us behind? I'm not leaving you, I corrected him. I'm releasing myself. Then came the final act. My dad lowered his eyes. What if we apologized? I shrugged. Then apologize. But don't expect another dollar. They left 15 minutes later. No shouting. No threats. Just the quiet closing of the door. And that's when I felt it. Not triumph. Not victory. Just silence. A deep, profound silence. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And for the first time in years, I fell asleep without tension in my chest. The first morning after they left, I woke up to quiet. Real, peaceful quiet. No vibrating phone, no overdraft alerts, no missed calls from my dad asking for just one more thing. I brewed my coffee, took it to the couch, and sat there for 10 minutes doing absolutely nothing. And for the first time in years, that nothing didn't feel wasteful. It felt earned. Over the next week, I kept expecting the guilt to hit. It didn't. Instead, I felt lighter, like someone had cut off a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. Like I could finally breathe. My routine didn't change, still worked, still went to the gym, still meal prepped on Sundays. But now there was no anxious voice in the back of my head calculating how much I'd have left after covering someone else's crisis. I finally had a full paycheck to myself, and it felt unreal. But the calls didn't stop. They came in waves. First, a few missed ones, then long texts, paragraphs of guilt and nostalgia. Asterisk, remember when we used to go to the beach as kids? Your mom would have wanted us to stay close. Asterisk, then came voice notes, some emotional, some manipulative, some angry. My dad cycled through all three in a single day. I didn't answer, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. About 2 weeks later, Kyle called from a new number, left a voicemail. Hey, I get it. You're mad. I was a jerk. I really screwed up. I'm trying to find work, but it's hard out here. I don't know what I'm doing. And Dad, he's not doing great. He's talking about selling the house. I know I don't deserve your help, but can we just talk? I didn't call back. Because he wasn't wrong. He didn't deserve it. 3 days after that, I got a message from my dad's number, but it wasn't him. It was a photo, Kyle in a fast food uniform, looking tired, sweaty, and miserable. The caption just said, "He's learning." I stared at it for a while. Then I closed the message and turned off my phone. A few days passed. Then I got another text from a number I didn't recognize. Asterisk, check your email. You're going to want to see this. Asterisk, no name. Curious, but cautious, I opened my laptop. And there it was. An anonymous tip. A forwarded screenshot of a GoFundMe page. Please help us keep our home. My father is sick. My brother abandoned us. It had photos of Kyle and my dad looking miserable, next to a poorly written sob story. And there it was, my name, blamed publicly. They claimed I'd cut ties with no warning. That I'd refused to help even after a medical emergency, and that I was well off but cold-hearted. I stared at it, stunned. And I wasn't the only one. There were comments from strangers saying things like, "His brother sounds like a heartless person. Imagine letting your own dad go homeless. What a monster." They were making money off of painting me as the villain. Thousands of dollars in donations. I felt like throwing up. I paced for nearly an hour, trying to decide what to do. Call them? Confront them? Sue? Instead, I took a screenshot and sent it to Kyle. "This is how you try now?" He replied 5 minutes later. I didn't write it. Dad did. I swear. I told him not to post it. I didn't answer. Instead, I called and reported the fundraiser. 2 days later, the page was taken down for violating terms. The money was frozen. And suddenly, silence again. No texts, no calls, not even guilt trips. A week later, Amanda, Kyle's ex, showed up at my door. She looked hesitant but determined. "I heard about the fundraiser," she said. "I came to tell you something." We sat down, and she explained everything. Apparently, the money wasn't meant for medical bills. It was to pay off my dad's gambling debts. He'd racked up over $20,000 in high-risk online games. Kyle knew, and he covered for him. The GoFundMe was a last-ditch effort to make it all disappear. They weren't trying to survive, she said. They were trying to reset. Again. That night, I booked a weekend trip. My first in years. I didn't tell anyone. I turned off my phone and left. While I was away, something strange happened. I got an email from a former high school friend, someone I hadn't heard from in over a decade. Subject, saw your name. Attached was a screenshot. My name had shown up in a local Facebook group with people asking whether the cold tech bro who ditched his dying dad was real. The lies had spread further than I thought. I felt two things, fury and relief. Fury that they dragged my name so deep through the mud. Relief that I wasn't in it anymore. When I came back, things had changed. Kyle kept his fast food job. Word was he'd been showing up early, even covering shifts. He'd sold off some of his fake luxury junk just to make rent. And my dad? He stopped gambling, at least for now. He started renting out the guest room in his house to a retired Navy vet who helped him fix up the garage. Word was he even started budgeting his money for the first time since 2009. None of that was thanks to me. It was thanks to me leaving. The very thing they feared the most. And ironically, the only thing that helped them grow. Then came the final twist. A knock on my door. It was Kyle. No hoodie, no backpack, just him, standing there holding a manila folder. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he said, his voice softer, devoid of its usual bluster. "I just wanted to give you this." Inside were printouts, proof of the debts he'd paid off, copies of his last 6 paychecks, a receipt showing he'd started therapy. And at the bottom, a short handwritten note. "I was the broken one," it read, "but I used you like a crutch and blamed you for standing." That hit harder than I expected. It wasn't an apology. It was something rarer. It was accountability. And for the first time, I believed he meant it. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We just nodded. Then he left. 2 weeks later, my dad showed up at my door again, alone. He didn't bring guilt or anger this time. Just a check. A real check. $1,000. "This isn't a bribe," he said, his voice a little hoarse. "It's not even close to what I owe, but it's a start." I didn't cash it. I pinned it to the fridge as a reminder. A reminder that even the most stubborn people can change when they're finally forced to. It's been 6 months now. I haven't resumed payments. I haven't taken any calls unless I feel like it. I still send holiday cards. I keep my distance. I protect my peace. And you know what? They stopped asking. Because they finally figured out what I've always known. I was never the unchosen one. I was the one they leaned on, the one they drained, the one they took for granted. But not anymore. Now I'm just me. Free. Stable. Unbothered. And for the first time in years, I know exactly who I am when I'm not carrying everyone else's weight.